Is Zach Wilson actually the real deal? Damian Lillard is now a Milwaukee Buck, and Devante Adams is possibly leaving the Las Vegas Raiders. Is he going back home? This and more on Sports Talk with Dad, starting right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is clearly delusional about his age, my dad, Tim.
What is that supposed to mean?
We had a conversation
We have lots of comments.
about 100 pitches, and if you have a 45-year-old retired former pitcher, Major League Baseball pitcher, do you think you could get a hit?
No.
That's not what you said.
I said back in the day.
No, you did not.
I couldn't hit him now. There's no way.
On camera, he is changing his tone. Had time to think about it.
45-year-old former Major League pitcher throwing nothing but fastballs. And remember, Major League pitchers' fastballs move a lot.
They do.
I would never see it enough to get around on it.
I think I could.
Not a prayer.
100 straight pitches.
Now, if you had
Straight fastballs.
3 months to work on it, we were using the example of Goose Gossage or Nolan Ryan back in the day, and there's no way. You'd never touch them. I don't know who's retiring. There is no flipping way. Not only does their fastball move a lot, it's a heavy ball.
3 months practice.
You might touch a ball.
Again, we're talking 45-year-old retired pitcher.
Yeah.
Greg Maddux.
Greg, okay.
Straight fastballs.
Yeah, well, Greg Maddux couldn't throw his fastball over about 85 miles an hour at the end of his career, so that's a bad example.
Right. It's not a bad example. If they had all their stuff, like if Greg Maddux had all of his pitches today, I wouldn't touch him.
You wouldn't touch him.
Trust me, Greg Maddux is one of my all-time favorite players. He's my second favorite pitcher of all time.
Well,
So
probably the greatest
I have all
pitcher.
the respect.
He's the greatest pitcher of his generation.
So if he has all of his stuff, even with who he is now, no.
Okay, let's do it this way. Randy Johnson is what, 50 years old now?
Something like that.
He's a photographer.
Yeah. Hasn't trained in quite a long time.
Stepped out there.
100 pitches.
100 pitches.
Yes, I think I could get around. And here would be my strategy. Here would be my strategy. I have 100 straight pitches, right? Which means that 45-year-old man has to throw 100 pitches in a row.
Yeah.
I'm not swinging for the first 30. I'm just watching him come in. I'm getting used to the pitch, and as he goes on, his arm's going to get tired. They don't let pitchers today pitch more than 100 pitches because they're saying their arm's getting tired. So as I get used to the speed, as I get used to it, it would be a bloop single. I mean, I'd have to get lucky.
You would never get it past the infield grass. Or the infield
3
dirt.
months to train, where I have all I'm doing is training. You're giving me 3 months to do nothing but train.
Look, you're a good athlete.
I'm athletic. I don't think I'm an athlete.
You had decent hand-eye coordination. I think you
Right.
still probably do. You were a good tennis player.
Yeah.
I was, you know me, I was not a good hitter.
No.
I was defensive catcher, and I could throw and I could run.
Right. 210 in the minors. Single A.
Whatever. I couldn't hit. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I got a bloop on a
Hey.
curveball.
You got there.
Anyways, there's no way. I mean, those guys, I've told you many times, I got to catch, his name just escaped.
Chuck Finley.
Chuck Finley, thank you.
You can tell how
Ooh, thank
many times I've heard this story.
Stop it. The man wasn't fast. He was sudden.
Right.
Over 100 miles an hour. Had to hit my glove or I was a dead man.
Yeah.
And he did.
We're not talking current major
No,
league pitchers.
I know that. But there's, and I also have told the story. Bob Feller came on one of those
Right.
barnstorming deals to make some money.
Yeah. Much later. He was what, like in his 50s?
Probably 60s.
Yeah.
That's when I found out what
Yes, you don't like Bob Feller. We got it.
an evil person Bob Feller was. Anyways, I got it. I hit him off. I got a hit off of him. Actually, I got 2 or 3 hits off of him. He let you hit 5, and I think I got 3. But he still could throw. I mean, when he still reared back, his ego got in the way.
Yeah.
And, he could still do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he threw his curveballs when he got past me, but it's just former major leaguer. Their ball moves so much.
Listen, I'm not. If like I said, we're talking one hit, and that guy has to throw 100 straight pitches. 100 straight pitches.
Mm-hmm.
So one of two things are going to happen. One, he's never going to give me all the stuff. Or two, he's going to get tired. And that's when I have a shot.
Or three, his professional competitiveness is going to come in, and he's going to not care if his arm falls off. Don't forget, Randy Johnson's also a left-hander, which is even harder to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not touching.
3 months to train, where I have to do nothing for 8 hours a day, but look at baseballs and work on my swing and practice on getting around.
If you had
You're telling me, I get it. I'm 34 years old and I have an ego. If I had a coach and I have 3 months to prepare for this, and then they got to give me 100 pitches in a row,
you would touch one or two of them.
I'm going to touch one, and I might get one out of the infield. It's possible.
It's also just as possible that you wouldn't even touch or see a ball.
But we're talking fastballs.
Yeah.
We are talking just fastballs. They're throwing one pitch. One pitch.
That's all Randy Johnson ever had to throw, because I guarantee you at some point, remember one of our favorite movies, Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah, Watch for In Your Ear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, okay, if they throw at me, I'm done. That's a different story. But I really think it's possible for a person. Now, let's not forget, I'm not somebody who sits on his couch all day long.
No.
Okay? I want to make that clear. I train 6 days a week, right? I am in the gym, and it's very different. I get it. But I am better than the average person when it comes to my ability to be in shape. I am in shape. But better than most 34-year-olds.
When I was, and this is just batting cage, so a completely different animal.
Right.
When I was in my 40s,
yeah,
that was the last time I could go in the fast cage.
Sure.
And have any prayer of hitting. As a matter of fact,
which is fair. You also have had 3 back surgeries
at that point,
and I've had none.
Yeah.
My joints and everything are still intact. My knee
really
flares up now and then.
I was gonna say, after that picture you sent me of your knee.
Yeah, I don't know. I messed up, but that's a story for later.
It would be fun to see this in reality.
I think, honestly, if you give me 3 months where all I have to do is practice baseball, right? I'm just practicing hitting. I'm working with the coach. And then you put me up against a Randy Johnson right now. You put me up against I don't want to say Greg Maddux.
Roger Clemens.
A Roger Clemens right now, depending if what he's been taking. But even then. If you put me up, what's another retired pitcher from the 90s, early 2000s?
I'm trying to think.
Bumgarner, no, because he's still playing. Well, CC Sabathia can't pitch anymore.
Bill Wegman kind of guy, former Milwaukee Brewer, had some stuff.
Kerry Wood.
Okay, that's a perfect example. Kerry Wood.
I don't want to say yes because he's my all-time favorite pitcher.
Kerry Wood. That's the better than anybody else we've talked about. Kerry Wood, who can't throw like he did when he first came up and got the 20 strikeout games. You wouldn't touch him because, number one, you would be in awe for the first 3 quarters of the pitches.
That's different. You have to give me somebody I didn't idolize as a child. I mean,
that's when it would be more fun.
Honestly, that's where it would be hard with like a Greg Maddux or a Kerry Wood, because I would just be so happy that I was facing them and around them. Like those were my idols growing up. But let's talk Kerry Wood though. Be real. Let's take away the fact that he's my all-time favorite player, right? You give me 3 months to train and 100 straight pitches of just fastballs,
knowing full well that he would be training for 3 months as well.
Yeah,
to get back in shape.
Well, that's not part of the deal. But okay, let's say that though. I really think I could get around on one. Again, one, because Kerry Wood's also had some arm problems.
Sure,
right?
He has.
One hit. I'm not saying I'm going to hit 300 off the guy. I'm not saying I'm going to hit 0.5 off the guy, right? I'm saying I'm getting one hit in 100 pitches. You're telling me I have to hit 1%.
I think you would be shocked at the amount of movement a guy like he.
I'm sure, but that's why. But again, I'm going to know that at that point because I've been working with a coach. I'm facing other pitchers at that point. I'm going to be able to see that Kerry Wood's a different animal. I understand that.
Any major leaguer is a different animal.
Yes, any major leaguer is a different animal.
Fastballs move.
I'm going to sit on 20 to 30 pitches. I'm just going to watch.
You're sitting dead red on these.
Right.
So you're just in there.
I just want to see them. Now, again, if they're giving me ear candy and that's what I have to think about now, no, we're done. But if it's 100 straight pitches, I really do think I could get around on one.
Well, I know
it would be lucky. There'd be luck involved. Don't get me wrong. I am not an athlete. I am athletic. I'm not an athlete. But as an athletic person in the shape that I am right now, understanding from previous experience in sports and everything, what it takes to train to get to that level, because it's also another big difference. You have to understand, like, I would be out there 8 hours a day facing balls to not embarrass myself.
Sure.
I think I could get one out of the infield.
I tell you what, if I would get a hit, my bat would be laid down and I'd walk away.
I would too. Like, if my first ball is getting a hit, I'm not trying to go out there to get a second hit. No, I'm laying down the bat and we're done.
And I will tell you this, and I saw somebody do this. Your Uncle Mark played at an old timers game because nobody was signing up for this old timers game when I was in the Quad Cities. And so I rigged this thing. All of a sudden, your Uncle Mark was a former AAA player.
Right.
He came in. There's a much longer story to this, but he went up for batting practice. The first ball, he actually tagged and hit to the wall. And he laid his bat down and didn't do anything else. He goes, that's good as I'm going to look. And he actually played really great. He was a shortstop for part of the game, which I was sitting there going, really? But he played well.
See? It was in the genetics.
It was probably it was the greatest time your Uncle Mark and I ever had.
Yeah.
It's
in the
week.
genes to pull stuff out of your ass when you need to.
I think the even better part of that was your cousin Chad was with me the whole week.
That's awesome.
That was awesome because we had a baseball clinic. Someday I'll tell a whole sordid story.
For me in this situation, bringing it back, pride would get in the way. It really would. And my kids are going to be there watching this, and I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of those kids. I'm going to work hard, and I will get one hit out of pure pride.
I want to hear what the audience has to say.
Let us know. Do you think if you have a retired baseball player, 45-year-old former pitcher,
Kerry Wood,
using whatever player you can think of, do you think given 100 straight pitches with 3 months of training beforehand, do you think you could hit one out of those 100 pitches? I think I can. No matter what you say, I think I could. You let us know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. Speaking of the baseball topic here,
okay.
Baseball made 3 rule changes this year. You had the pitch clock, shift rule, and the larger bases. In your purist mind, because I know that's what you have. You are a purist at heart, more than me.
Okay. Are we going to talk about the fact that the worst rule of all time was the fact that the DH is now in both leagues and it should never happen?
That's not part of it. That happened now. 2 years ago.
I know. I'm still up.
You've whined about it forever. Enough. It's been a fine change. Nobody's noticed the difference. Chill.
Oh, lots of people. I've noticed it, and that's all that counts.
There you go.
Anyways, okay.
I'm sorry your feelings got hurt.
I think one of these was a grand slam.
Yeah.
I think one of these was a complete strikeout. And one was just a meh, base on balls.
There you go. I was going to say you make 2 baseball references to this, and then.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
All right, so the grand slam is clearly the pitch clock.
Pitch clock has been outstanding. Games have been shorter. You can watch them on TV again.
Back down to 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Haven't been 2.5 hours since 1985.
And the fact that they thought about getting rid of it for the playoffs was the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Right.
That has been a grand slam. The shift rule, complete strikeout. They already came up with ways around it. My thing
they're just bringing in an outfielder into the infield.
Exactly. And my thing is, tell these professional Major League Baseball players to learn to hit to the other side if there's a shift on. So that's a complete.
There's your argument about me hitting one out of those 100 is that professional baseball players can't figure out how to hit to the opposite field.
Uh-huh.
That's a different one. But I agree with you on that. I mean, the shift rule they figured out pretty quick. They know where they're leaving people. They can still shift the outfield. That's exactly what they've done. My thought through the whole time with the shift, you could have ended it in baseball without messing with it. Because eventually these hitters are going to start to learn how to hit the opposite field.
But they never have. I mean, they had shifts on for Ted Williams back in the 40s, and guess what Ted Williams did? Hit the ball over their head.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just that good.
Right. And that's what a lot of people were doing. But I'm just saying, I saw Anthony Rizzo start laying down bunts over there.
Which was
and
brilliant.
They got over. Like, there's ways around it, and you're just refusing to use those.
Anthony Rizzo, by the way, is one of the smartest players to ever play as a hitter.
Yes.
He'll do that. Most guys, their ego won't let them lay down a bunt. Rizzo's like, no, I'm going to do what helps the team.
Most guys in Rizzo's situation don't learn how to lay down a bunt.
Exactly, like I said.
But Rizzo, let's be honest, he is a special player. I mean, he's a cancer survivor. Let's not forget that when he was in the minors, he had cancer, survived that, and is now having the career he's having after that. So he just appreciates being on the earth. And he's an extremely smart player. You know me. I love Anthony Rizzo. He's my favorite current player right now. I'd like to see him back at the Cubs. I really would.
And then
that's the shift rule. But you're right. They figured it out. They just brought in an outfielder. He's not staying in the infield, just a little bit out of the infield, because once the ball's hit, you can go wherever you want.
Right.
It's a dumb rule from the word go, and you've done nothing.
No, it was pointless. And then the last one is the larger bases.
Stealing's up a lot this year.
It is, but is that because of the larger bases or because? And don't forget, they also had the stupidest rule of all time, which we didn't even have on here, is the balk rule, where you throw over twice and the third time.
Right. That has more to do with stolen bases than the bigger bases.
It does.
I don't think the bigger bases has anything to do with the steals being up. I really don't.
I don't think so either.
It's 2 inches. The base is 2 inches bigger.
That's one of those things that as soon as you get used to it, you don't even notice it, and the game goes back to the way it was before.
Yeah, well, and if you're not going to allow the in the what do you call it?
Neighborhood.
In the neighborhood play, then I said that from the word go. If you're going to get rid of the in the neighborhood play, then you have to make the bases bigger because that's a safety thing.
Then they only needed to do it at second base.
I mean, that's the bigger bases.
Yeah.
You can't make one base bigger and then the rest of them not bigger.
Sure you could.
No, that's dumb. Just make the bases bigger. I like it. There were a lot of injuries on first base too.
I just don't think it's made.
Not a lot, but there were a few.
Most of that came from guys who were running inside the baseline and would step on somebody's ankle.
Right.
You got to get rid of that.
But it's 2 inches. It's 2 inches. Like, that's not
it's
a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Now, the balk rule.
It's stupid.
You're right. We didn't put that one on here. You want to talk about a strikeout of a rule change.
That is. Throw over twice.
You can do it 3 times, otherwise it's an automatic walk. Like, listen.
No, the guy gets the next base.
It's considered a balk.
Yeah.
You throw over the 3rd time, you either get him or it's a balk and they take the base. That has led to more steals this year than the bases being bigger ever could have.
Much more to do with it, and I think it's a complete whiff. You can't do that. I mean, you're taking away a huge weapon for the guys on defense.
Right.
The pitcher's got to be able to throw over there.
Well, we don't want to see somebody throwing over 17 times. How often does that happen in a baseball game?
It happened with guys like Ricky Henderson, Lou Brock.
It did, and then he still stole.
Exactly. They still stole.
And it would do one of 2 things when that happened to Ricky Henderson. If he was home, it ignited the crowd in a way that definitely benefited the home team. Or it deflated the away crowd because there's nothing you can do to stop this guy. Right. If this rule was in place when Ricky Henderson was playing,
oh my God,
he would have stolen another 1,000 bases.
Probably. Lou Brock
he was an extremely smart base runner.
He was. I mean, and as soon as he stole second, you could pretty much count on him looking to steal third.
Right.
You know,
if he had the chance, he was coming home.
The greatest player to ever do that was still Jackie Robinson, long before my time.
Didn't Jackie Robinson steal like 3 bases in a row?
Yes.
Do that?
Yes. Yeah. And he stole home several times. He was just that good.
Well, Jackie Robinson's one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yes, he is.
I mean, baseball was his 3rd greatest sport.
Yeah. For him to have that as being, I'll play baseball even though it's not my favorite.
Jackie Robinson is a true American icon.
I forgot to bring it over, but you know what I now have in my possession?
No.
I have a Jackie Robinson jersey.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Brooklyn?
Yep. Well, it's Dodgers.
Yeah, Brooklyn Dodgers. Does it say Dodgers on front?
Dodgers on front.
That's cool. Did
42
Jackie
on
Robinson
back.
ever play in L.A.?
I think he did.
Did he?
I think. Maybe not.
I don't know.
No, probably didn't. Because I think he was pretty much done by the mid-50s, and the Dodgers didn't move until the early 60s.
Got it.
So maybe he didn't.
Fair.
Anyways, getting back to the conversation, I don't think the larger bases have made that much of a difference. The balk rule needs to go away.
It does. It's balk,
Balk.
not bulk.
I always said balk. It's B-A-L-K.
Right. It's not walk. It's walk. And
It's a
that's
balk.
essentially,
Okay.
it's replacing the word walk. Because it's a
Really?
walk,
Really?
right?
We're going to do this with the English language.
It's a walk,
There,
right?
there, and there. And
Yeah, the English language is weird.
yeah,
English language, from what I've heard from
It's a
people
balk.
that speak multiple
It is-
languages,
it is a balk.
English is one of the easiest languages to learn how to speak, one of the hardest languages to learn how to read and write.
And we live in a state that's a huge problem. We all say it, Wisconsin. Everybody else in the world calls it Wisconsin. I'm like, there's no we in it.
Well, it's like people also say milk or milk. I can't even say it wrong. Milk with an E instead of milk. Well,
And
yeah, it's an I.
And it's a balk.
No, it's not.
It's a
It is a
balk.
walk.
It's a
And
balk.
and it replaces the word walk.
No.
So it's a balk.
Yeah, it's a balk.
Exactly.
It's
See, you said it right.
I
Good
did.
job. You just said it right. Congratulations.
It's a balk. B-W-K. Balk.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
B-W-K. Balk.
Thank you
No
for
L.
joining my team.
No L.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay. We're losing our audience.
Yeah, we
Let's
are.
move on.
Let's move on. So, big thing happened in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Damian Lillard is
Yep.
now a Milwaukee Buck.
Correct.
And it is interesting how this happened.
Oh, you called it.
I did. I called this 3 months ago on the show. I wish I had the audio, but I don't. I called it a few months ago on the show saying that if the Bucks wanted to keep Giannis, they had to bring in Damian Lillard. And they come through. But let's be honest, the only reason this happened is because the same fight that happened in Green Bay happened in Portland. It was all pettiness. Damian Lillard had announced he wanted to go to Miami. He had made a big thing about wanting to go to Miami as his preferred team. And his GM came to him and said, there is no way we are trading you to Miami. Give us other teams. He came up with Milwaukee as one of those teams, and the trade happened. And the Bucks gave away very little.
I don't know. Drew Holiday is not just a little.
What hurts more with the Drew Holiday trade is he went to the one team that could really hurt the Bucks, and that is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, well, you knew that Portland wasn't going to keep him.
Nope.
It was going to be a sign, trade and trade.
Yep.
And he is now in Boston, where the Bucks are going to have to go through them to get to the finals.
Yeah,
And that's a tough out. All of a
that
sudden.
may have just made Boston the best team in the East, honestly. Because what were they missing? A point guard that can run the floor
And the defense.
and the defensive side of things.
And Drew Holiday is one of the best defensive guards in all of basketball.
I think he is the best defensive guard in all of basketball.
That was a big loss. I was hoping, honestly.
It is, but he wasn't going to give you what you needed on the offensive side of the ball. And when it comes to pick and roll with Damian Lillard, the Bucks are going to score 130 to 150 points a game.
But can they keep the other team from scoring 130?
Yeah, because you have Brook Lopez, who
True.
is Defensive Player of the Year. You have Giannis, who has also been a Defensive Player of the Year. And so when it comes to the perimeter, nobody's getting to the basket.
Well, and I think one of the things that Dame Lillard,
Paint, I should say, not the perimeter, sorry.
what Dame Lillard really brings is the Bucks were one of the worst three-pointing shooting teams ever. I mean, when they get in the playoffs, I got so frustrated. They could not make a three to save their lives.
Right. That
changes instantly.
It does. The pressure's off Giannis. You got another star there. And Damian Lillard thrives in the fourth quarter. I mean, they call it Dame time for a reason, because he shows up when the last buzzer is sounding.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The Bucks are now the favorite in Vegas. I think that is about to change with the Drew Holiday trade. But you look at the rest of it, besides Boston, Miami's not any better, and they overperformed last year.
They did. Well, Jimmy Butler does what Jimmy Butler does and shows up when at playoff time.
Right. I'm going to take it easy this season. I don't think he takes it easy, but he shows up come playoff time.
I love Jimmy Butler. Don't get me wrong, and they would have been a really good team with Dame Lillard in.
Yeah, they would have become the favorites, but I think honestly, this is more dangerous now that he's with a player of Giannis's caliber because it's a big man down below. I think you're going to start to see a Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal connection, or even honestly, probably closer to a who is who's Shaq's running mate in Orlando?
Oh, you're testing me now. I know who you're talking about. If you can think about it, put it in the comments. I also think they could possibly do something like the triangle with what they have with Lopez. I want to see Giannis stay down in the paint more. He has always been one. He's going to bring the ball up a lot because
Penny Hardaway.
Thank you. Giannis still going to bring the ball up a lot because that's what he does.
I don't think so.
I think he'll do it.
I don't think so.
You're not going to stop him from doing it.
If he has the ball in his hand, but it's not going to be what it was.
This is still his team. And, everybody was talking just a few weeks ago about, well, is Giannis going to leave the Bucks?
He still hasn't signed.
He hasn't signed, but the Bucks held up their end.
They did.
They went out and got them and gave up, made what most teams would consider a hard trade.
Listen, Chris Middleton's going to, if the Bucks are smart, Chris Middleton becomes your sixth man. He's not on the floor because you need points off the bench. The Bucks haven't had points off the bench. Chris Middleton can be those points off the bench now, especially when Damian Lillard and Giannis are getting a rest. All of a sudden, you can run that same offense with Chris Middleton running the floor and Brook Lopez down below.
Is he going to have to bring up the ball because Pat Connaughton is all of a sudden going to be in the starting lineup?
He will.
They don't really have the point guard they had when they had Holiday there.
They don't.
They may not be done yet, although they don't have a lot of trade capital left.
I was going to say, well, and their cap is pretty spent at this point.
It's funny money,
you see the team, it is funny money.
They'll figure it out.
But you see the team that's there. This is why you brought in Jimmy Haslam as an owner, because he's got that money to spend.
And the GM for the Bucks did a great job. He made the hard trade, and he got it done. And I think the Bucks season is going to be very exciting. I mean, the fact on a Saturday afternoon that they got over 5,000 people to downtown Milwaukee shows how much this kind of a trade meant to the people of Milwaukee.
It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a fun team to watch. I am very, very excited for the Bucks season. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We got an NFL preview coming up for next week's games, but before we get into that, let's talk about a couple of games that went on last week. Now, I was very fortunate to be able, I'm still going to say fortunate because the Lambeau is a great place to be. I happened to be at the game on Thursday and got to see live and in person just a team fall apart.
What did I say before the season? I took the Packers as a 5 or 6 win team. I think they've got more. I think they have more talent than that, actually. Jordan Love, everybody's saying, wow, he came back to earth. He was pressured 29 times and had 3 or 4 sacks.
He had zero time to do anything. And he had a good third quarter, good second quarter. Fourth quarter wasn't what it could have been. I mean, the tone was set when the Packers started the game off with an interception and we're in the red zone and walked away with a field goal.
Right.
That's when I was with a friend of mine who's a Lions fan, and we both looked at each other, and he was very excited, and I knew it was going to be a long night.
Aiden Hutchinson. Sorry. He basically took up a lease in the backfield of the Packers.
He did. There's no time. I mean, both our all-pro offensive linemen are on IR now.
But I think it's a bigger deal than that. I don't think it's just because of the injuries on the offensive line. I think the Packers are one of the worst coached teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur should have fired Joe Barry not a year ago, but 2 years ago, and he didn't do it because he's got to be everybody's buddy and he can't fire anybody. And his coaching, he did not put Jordan Love in positions where he had a chance to succeed. He left him in that backfield and just let the Lions pin their ears back and come right at him.
Yeah. It was very evident. The play calling was terrible. You could see Matt LaFleur on the sideline, even when they weren't showing him on TV. And trust me, when he wasn't on TV, it was a lot worse. Like he clearly doesn't know what's going on. His press conference afterwards, I mean, you want to talk about infuriating a fan base. To come out as a head coach and say, "Don't you think if I knew what was going on, we would have fixed it?" Well, you better know what's going on.
It's your job.
You're the head coach of the team.
Let me ask you this. I was going to ask you earlier. I wanted to save it for the show. If the Green Bay Packers were coached by an Andy Reid this year,
Yeah.
What do you think happens in that game?
I think the Packers win.
Same personnel challenges they're facing.
Listen, this team's way too talented. One, Joe Perry's not the defense coordinator. You have, I mean, think of who he got as a defense coordinator in Kansas City. Got Steve Spagnuolo.
Right.
You know, so you're going to have a better defensive coordinator at that point.
And they could have had Dan Quinn if they wouldn't have put all of their eggs in the Jim Leonard basket 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. Yeah, and that didn't work out. I mean, you just would have had a better coach team. I really think there's too much talent on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to be as bad as they are. And Jordan Love has shown he's got the stuff to be really, really good in this league. But it's just coaching. This is a poorly coached team. Period.
In all aspects. Their special teams has played better, but they still gave up a touchdown a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they did. But, I mean, everybody gets one every now and then, sure. I guess. It's just, again, this just looks like a poorly run organization. It's a piss poor job. You got to clean house at this point and just bring in a new coaching staff. If I'm the Green Bay Packers, I'm going to Washington and getting Eric Bieniemy to become our head coach. He clearly is proving with Washington that he is not just Andy Reid's puppet. This guy can call plays and can run an offense, because Washington just went from the 22nd best offense in the league to number, 4 or 5?
Something like that.
And last year he had the number 1 offense in Kansas City, so this guy can clearly coach. The fact that he's running around swearing at people makes me happier.
Yes.
Like, that's how I was coached. And listen, it got me to perform. These guys are adults. You're going to get used to it. Like, you just respond. He's forcing you to respond. You don't think you're going to hear that in a game? Like, respond. You're picking a fight. Football's a fight.
Exactly. And start playing like it. So on to another thing that happened in that Packer game. The rest of the country is all upset at Packer fans because one of the guys, St. Brown, gets that touchdown. There's a bunch of Lions fans there. There was no prayer. I was saying that name right. He jumps into the stands and a bunch of Lions fans sitting there,
yeah,
which is another story. And a guy leans over and dumps a beer on his helmet.
Yeah, number one,
I doubt he even knew it happened. Number 2, don't steal the Lambeau Leap. But on top of that, Packer fans, don't sell your freaking tickets to a bunch of Lions fans who are sitting.
Well, which one are you talking about? Because you're talking about 2 things at once right now.
Okay. First of all, the fan dumping the beer, I don't have a problem with it.
Is it a dick move? Yeah. I mean, trust me, people were drunk before they walked into the game. There were a lot of drunk people.
It's a Packer game.
And it got worse.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was driving with some of those people was not a fun thought in my head. But don't jump in the stands. Packers fans get beer spilled on them all the time. Or Packer players, I should say, get beer spilled on them all the time. There was a whole joke about when Randall Cobb got ketchup spilled on him. He got a whole OxyClean commercial out of it. Like, you're going to get stuff on you when you jump in the stands.
Yeah.
If you're an opposing player and you jump in the stands, you get stuff dumped on you.
And don't come to Lambeau Field and do the Lambeau Leap.
Listen, we've had people do it before, which is whatever. You have a right to do it. If you score a touchdown in Lambeau and you want to do a Lambeau Leap, it's iconic. If you want to spit in the face of the Packers fans that are cheering against you, okay, fine. But Amon-Ra St. Brown's not complaining that I've heard.
He's not.
He hasn't said a word. Like you said, I don't even think he noticed it happened. But listen, don't jump into the stands with fans. The fan didn't get kicked out.
Nor should he have.
I mean, that was an expensive dumping of beer.
Yeah, I don't even know what beer costs up there.
$15.
Holy buckets.
$15 a can. It's an expensive way to get drunk.
And not for me.
Nah, me either. I don't drink anymore.
I agree with you.
But don't jump into the stands. But yeah, as for the Lions fans being there was more than a quarter of the fans wearing blue.
It's just not acceptable, Packer fans. And Lambeau.
How is that not acceptable of Packer fans?
Look,
you know how much those tickets are
I
selling for?
understand that. Lambeau is sold out for every game.
Correct.
For the next
season ticket holders.
50 years. And these are season ticket holders selling them. I get that they make money off of these things, but show up for your team's games.
Do you want to watch a bad team get their butts kicked?
I grew up in the 70s and 80s.
But you weren't selling tickets for $1,000 a pop.
No, that's true.
Like, listen, the face value of these tickets, I think, are like $150 each, depending on where you're sitting. I think the average is about $150. So if you're telling me I'm paying $150 for a ticket and I can turn around and sell those for $500 to $700 a piece, I'm selling them.
Don't do it.
No, I am selling the tickets. I'm not going to go and watch this poorly coached team lose when I can make that much money from Lions fans who are dying to be at these games to see their teams win.
Look, in this economy, I don't blame anybody for doing what they have to pay the mortgage.
I mean, I think it's a bigger issue that it costs so much to go to a damn game. But I don't blame Packers fans for selling their tickets in a situation when you have a team like this. And I don't blame Lions fans for running to see a good team. They get, what, one a decade?
Ouch.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, you're not, but I think
When's the last time they won a playoff game? 1992.
Okay. Lions are going to win the North. They're by far the class of the division at this point. Everybody can tell it's a long season, but
listen, I think the Vikings still have a chance to turn things around. I really do. I don't think the Packers are done yet. I mean, if the coaching continues with Green Bay, it's not the talent that's going to cost them games. It's the coaching.
So let's move on to another game. You're wearing the shirt, actually.
I am.
Could you believe how good Zach Wilson showed up? I mean, they had a deficit. This kid was on fire the other night.
17-0, a really bad first quarter for Zach Wilson, and then something clicked in his head.
I think they cut loose the offense.
They clearly cut. I think Aaron Rodgers showed up without anybody knowing.
Right.
And there was really getting a lot of heat on Zach Wilson, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. In an unfair way, though, at the same time, because the kid clearly wasn't ready last year. So what makes you think he's going to be ready after 75 seconds of thinking he's sitting?
With a bad offensive line, by the way.
With a bad offensive line, but he cut loose. He clearly got comfortable. He all of a sudden something clicked in his head. And he's like, I'm the quarterback of the New York Jets. What do I have to lose?
And I'm running the offense that we've got in place. And he started running Aaron Rodgers' offense.
He did.
He looked really good. He brought him back.
He was audibling the line. He was moving around coverage. He was seeing the defense. It was a different kid.
He took off when necessary.
And hearing him after the game talk about it, one, he took blame for the loss, which for those of you that didn't see the game, which I don't know why you'd be watching this if you hadn't watched the game, but there was a fumble. Basically, he got in his own head. That's all it was. He saw a blitz coming. He was looking towards his wide receiver, trying to bring his hands up to get the ball out of his hand quick. The snap was a little bit off, not a bad snap by any means, but a little bit off. He dropped the ball. They never got the ball back because the refs were clearly paid to let the Chiefs win the game. And the game ends. But for Zach Wilson to go up on that podium and to say, listen, this was my fault after last year, he was not taking blame for anything. You could see him even on the sideline saying, this loss is my fault. He was clearly beat up about it. He hated that he fumbled the ball. I think if they would have gotten that ball back, he would have drove him down the field. He's going to go against Denver next week and rock the Broncos.
I think Hackett got the message from Rodgers. Let him play the offense. I think Rodgers got the whole team and said, you better rally around this guy because he's your quarterback right now. And he's going to be back week 15, but he's going to be in the Jets facility after week 7.
He is.
And that's going to be huge for that team. And I think the Jets still, it's unlikely they make the playoffs, but
they're making the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, like I've been saying, will be back week 15.
Believe it when
it's going to be the greatest season we've ever seen because the Jets are going to go on and win a Super Bowl, and everything's going to be happy.
Okay. We've got a couple quick items just to run through.
More on to that Jets game because I do want to know your opinion on what happened with the interception at the end of the game. Because that flag was not thrown until after the interception happened.
It shouldn't have been a flag.
It wasn't a flag. But what is the ref doing throwing a flag? Not even reaching for the flag. It's not like he saw it and was reaching for it. This was well after that.
It's almost
that
like
flag was not thrown until after the ball was intercepted.
It's almost like somebody got into his headpiece and goes, "Where's the flag?" Because they've been playing like that all game. It was touchy, it was feely, but there wasn't an interference by any means. There wasn't a hold.
Holding.
No.
Nothing egregious.
And I tell you, I didn't get that call. I also didn't get the call where they called the guy out of bounds when he really wasn't.
He was.
I don't think
There's not enough to turn the call over. But to call a flag on that moment and after the interception was made, you wonder why people think that the NFL is rigged.
It was obscene. I mean, that flag never and it changed the whole game. I mean, that was the end of the game.
That ended it.
Yeah, because the Chiefs then just marched and got another first down and it was over. Should never have been happened. You took the ball out of the Jets, giving them any chance at winning. So, yes, I agree with you on that.
Now, the Jets could make another move.
What?
Because there is a very unhappy wide receiver in Las Vegas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something about bringing Carson Wentz that was going to come across the table.
No. Zach Wilson is your quarterback. He's earned that at this point. But there is a 17 in New York who I think is happy that his quarterback is starting to look his way more and more. And there's another 17 in Las Vegas that is ready to jump ship.
With good reason. Jimmy G has already been hurt, which you and I have talked about. Nothing in the background, no backup quarterback that's going to help. Devante Adams is the best receiver in football, who is right now regretting ever leaving Green Bay.
Yep.
Even with Jordan Love sitting there, because that team with Devante Adams would be a completely different team. And Jordan Love is proving he can throw the ball. He can run the offense.
Yep.
But I think
question is, could the Jets make a move to go and get him?
I don't know if they've got enough capital to get him.
You'd have to give up Garrett Wilson, and then they're not going to do that. But they have a first-round pick that they're not giving to Green Bay.
True. Look, if the Raiders came to me and said, give us that first-round pick for Devante Adams, you do it all day long.
Right.
It's not even a question. But a lot's going to depend. And now's the time to do it because Rodgers is saying all the right things.
Yep.
Zach Wilson, Adams would be a great safety valve for him.
Yep.
He's leaving the Raiders as soon as possible. And I think if he does play there all year, he's forcing himself out at the end of the season.
I agree. I could see a trade happening before it's done. That would mean that the Raiders are throwing an all-in rebuild at that point, and you go from there.
The other big trade that will happen, I think, is Jonathan Taylor is going to go someplace.
We'll see. He's playing this week. He's officially able to be suited up for the Indianapolis Colts this week, which brings us into our last part of the show, which is our NFL preview. We have 5 games here we're going to talk about. Let's start it off with the Jags and the Bills.
So I may have been wrong by saying the Bills weren't going to make the playoffs. I think it may be the Bengals aren't going to be making the playoffs because they looked atrocious again last week.
Yeah.
This is in Buffalo. I think the Bills are rolling. I'm taking the Bills in this one.
They're coming off a big win on Miami.
Mm-hmm.
They held Miami to 20 points last week after they put up 70 the week before on a terrible Broncos team.
Miami had a letdown.
But what did I say?
Miami can't run. Lightning doesn't run on ice, but it's not ice.
But it's up north. It's a different cut of grass. It's a different crowd. And up north, they are not performing how they do in Miami. That number 1 seed is very important to Miami. They needed this game, and they didn't get it. And the Bills are showing they're prime for the playoffs. Allen is looking like an MVP all of a sudden. Those cracks apparently got sealed from the offseason.
Who are you taking?
Listen, I want to like the Jags. I really do. But I don't think I can go against the Buffalo Bills on this one.
I can't. I'd love to see the Jags win, but I just don't think it happens.
Trevor Lawrence is going to have his coming out party yet again. They're not done yet. The Jags are still going to make the playoffs in an AFC South that has all of a sudden got a lot tougher now that CJ Stroud is doing exactly what I knew he could do.
Okay.
And lighting up the NFL. Lighting up the NFL. Ohio State quarterback.
Next game.
Go figure. Ohio State quarterback.
Cowboys at the 49ers.
It's going to be a good game. I mean, is there any stopping the 49er machine right now?
I don't think so. Although I think Dallas is still. They came off of the Arizona loss and looked great this week. But the 49ers just are a team that's playing better than anybody else in the league right now, I think. They're just, you said it best, they're a machine.
They are a machine.
Brock Purdy is outstanding. Their defense isn't as good as it was last year.
Right.
I'm not going against the 49ers.
You know what the 49ers really haven't seen this year? Defense like Dallas is.
True.
A defense coordinator like Dan Quinn, who can adjust on the fly, and a play caller like Mike McCarthy, who is going to take advantage of that weak defense. I think the Cowboys come into San Francisco and win this game.
Okay. This one you put on there just for the giggles of it. Jets at the Broncos.
The Hackett Bowl.
This is a battle of who cares at this point.
It is not.
It is.
Because you have the Jets with a fired up Zach Wilson.
Yes.
If this didn't say Rodgers, it would say Wilson right now on my shirt. Because Zach Wilson is the new leader of the New York Jets. He is going to have a coming out party against this terrible defense a mile high in the air to show Sean Payton where he can shove it. This is where Hackett comes out. He's going to light these people up. The Jets are going to win this one by a lot of points. This is going to spark the Jets through week 15, where they're going to win 8 to 9 games in a row. And then you're going to hand it off to Aaron Rodgers.
What are you drinking today?
The Zach Wilson team.
Obviously.
And they're going to hand it off to Rodgers in week 15 when he comes back from his torn Achilles. Like the miracle man he is, with the dolphin sounds of joy, bringing the healing of the ACL in New York, and they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Right. Okay. The Jets have had this game circled. The Jets will win, but I don't think it's going to be by a lot of points. I think they win by a touchdown.
Zach Wilson's the new Broadway Joe.
Oh my God. Stop it.
Listen, I'm not a guy who jumps on a bandwagon easily, as you know.
No, but you are a guy that's got hyperbole coming out of every pore in his body.
I run with what's going on. I enjoy the present and enjoy the fun. Zach Wilson is the next Broadway Joe. He's going to be leading the Jets for years to come.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers will come back, win the Super Bowl, hand off the crown to Zach Wilson, who will lead the Jets to several more playoff victories throughout his career.
You're going to make this a 4-hour show. Eagles at the Rams.
The Rams are showing that they're pretty good.
They are pretty good.
You got Cooper Kupp possibly coming back this week.
No, not possibly. He'll be back.
Is it official?
He's back.
So Cooper Kupp is back this week. You got a Matt Stafford who his hip is bugging him.
Sure.
You can tell. I mean, this is Stafford's last year. I don't think he's going to be able to take it another year. The Eagles are going to lose at some point.
I think this is the game. I'm taking the Rams.
Game too. I am also taking the Rams. The Philadelphia Eagles have almost lost a couple games this year, but they're winning close ones. They really are. And I think just Washington's better than people think they are this year. I think the Rams take this one home.
I think the Eagles are struggling a bit right now, but they're going to get better as the year goes on. But this is going to be a stumbling block. Now, the final game, of course, we have to talk about is Green Bay in Las Vegas. Packer fans will be partying very early.
There's going to be mostly
Monday.
Packer fans in this crowd.
Yes. Speaking of people buying tickets for an out-of-town game.
Yeah, this is going to be mostly Packer fans in this crowd here. It'll be basically a Packer home game. Although away Packers fans are stupid.
This is Packer fans traveling, though.
It's true. Florida Packer fans.
There's a lot of them.
I mean, the Packers better win this one. I'm picking the Packers. You're going against a rookie quarterback. You're going against a team in disarray, against Josh McDaniels, who I think is just as bad of a coach as Matt LaFleur. I mean, the Packers better win this game.
Devante Adams could have a big game. I think
He's going to have a big game. He's had a big game every year this year. Devante Adams.
Every year this year?
Every game this year. Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
Every game this year. I mean, he's going to have a big game.
I don't mean to sound like a homer, but the Packers should be the better. I mean, on paper, they're the better team. If their defense shows up,
if the Packers lose this game, fire Matt LaFleur on the spot. Don't let him back on the plane.
And keep Joe Barry with him.
and keep Joe Barry with him. Just start over now.
It works for me.
The Packers need to win this game. There is no doubt about it. But you and I have had an outstanding show. As always, at least that's what I like to think. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. But as you know from watching this show, I know as long as you cannot have a conversation with your dad without your father getting the last word. So it is all you.
So the MLB playoffs are about ready to start this week. And more people are way more interested in NFL Week 5. Baseball, how far can you sink? It's time it was a great season. It was. The playoffs are going to be great. But there's still some things that need to be done to fix baseball. I still think our plan having 5 3-team divisions, so like football, baseball fans are watching every division at all times to see who's in the playoffs and who's out of the playoffs. Has to happen. The other thing that is an absolute must has to happen, baseball. You've lost 2 generations of fans by starting your games so late. You've got to go back to having some Saturday afternoon games and starting your playoff games at 4 in the afternoon. People will tune in, people will watch, and the advertisers will get their money. But you've got to do some things to re-attract younger fans, because right now you've lost 2 generations and you're about ready to lose a third. And if you do that, baseball is going to continue to sink. Hockey's getting more and more popular. They may be taking over for baseball right behind the NFL. So I'm excited about the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Cubs didn't get in, but the Brewers did get in. I just hope MLB does some continually work on their game to make it the national game it should be again. Come on.
You had to bring up the Cubs and make the playoffs.
I did.
Yeah, I'm still sad. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.